Nintendo reignited the home video game market with the Nintendo Entertainment System in the 1980s. But by the early 90s, the Japanese game company found itself in an unexpected position, Player 2. The 1989 arrival of both Sega Genesis and TurboGrafx 16, more powerful machines with aggressive marketing campaigns, officially kicked off the first wave of the console wars. Nintendo would answer with 1991's Super Nintendo, a sleek machine that would eventually be home to a slate of eye-popping games. While the system would be unseated by the N64 after a mere 5 years, the SNES library features what are considered to be among the best entries in the company's lineup of original IP. So get ready to play with superpower as the great pop culture debate looks back at the best Super Nintendo game. As this episode's only Generation X representative, I want you to know that all 16 of my bits are fully rendered. I'm your host, Eric Resniak. Please help me welcome my panel for this episode. Like Super Mario RPG's Gino, someday he dreams of being a real boy. Welcome back, Curtis Creekmore.
Well, being a real boy might be nice, but I've got to say, there's nothing quite like the feeling of charging up a Geno Blast.
Those kind of backdoor shenanigans might fly in the Mushroom Kingdom, but they'll get you arrested in all 50 states. Next, we just picked up this wild boy from the Veldt, where he was learning some new moves with Gao. It's the return of our Game Boy, David Silbert.
What can I say? Love to see my buttons pushed.
Ooh, X-Zone, baby, X-Zone. And finally, he's going to throw barrels if he can't argue his way to Diddy's conquest. Please welcome back special guest Eric Slater of the We Can Make This Work Probably Podcast Network.
If I don't get my way, I'm going to be a cranky Kong.
I hear that. Now, why were crocodiles stealing bananas? And up in the producer booth, we have Bob Erlenbach, who is ready to hit reset if he doesn't like the way this game is going. If you're curious about how we ended up with the SNES 16, become a Patreon supporter of our little show. Or listen to the 3-minute preview available wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, you can head to this episode on greatpopculturedebate.com to find the listener bracket as well as clips from all 16 nominated games so you can play along with us at home. And with that out of the way, let's get out our moon pearls and warp to the dark world as we get into these debates. First up, the panel has unanimously voted to move forward Ultimate number 1 seed Super Mario World, meaning that 4 seed Super Castlevania 4 will have to say no to Drac outside of our debate. But Eric Slater, you wanted to take a bite out of Castlevania.
To me, this is the quintessential Castlevania game. It's awesome. I can't give it enough love, honestly.
And it's a reboot of the first game from the NES, but with amazing graphics, right?
That's right.
And this one you could whip in all directions. The backgrounds were like fully rendered and moving separately. The soundtrack is a fucking burner.
Yeah.
It's a step against
like
Super
the
Mario
bosses,
World,
Medusa. Like there's so much in this game. I could really spend the whole episode talking about it, but I know we have to move on.
We do, sadly, but Super Mario World will be moving on with us. Next, the majority of the panel wants to level up 3-seed Super Mario RPG, but I am going full beta for Sigma and pushing 2-seed Mega Man X. Eric Slater, why do you think we should keep Mario RPG out of Peach's frying pan and into the fire of round 2? I will cling to the walls and dash as I attempt to sway votes for Mega Man X. I'm going to go first. Like many SNES games, Mega Man X took what worked about the original 8-bit series and improved upon it graphically, narratively, etc. Mega Man X did that brilliantly, with a game that feels dynamic yet totally familiar and was a ton of fun to play. Mega Man X jumps even further into the future and gives us a more menacing villain than that guy who stands in line in front of you at the bagel place on a Saturday morning, subbing out Dr. Wily and his robot monsters for Sigma, and getting far more creative with the names and designs of the mini-bosses. What is a boomer Kawanger? We may never know, but he was a friend that we made along the way. Mega Man X also introduces Zero to the series, introduces the various armor upgrades hidden around some stages, and brings in several other playstyle improvements. It's a better version of Mega Man in every way. And most importantly, it has an X on it, which was essential for cool things in the 90s. Trust me. The game was a financial success for Capcom and spawned 7 direct sequels, even as the classic Mega Man series rebooted on the PlayStation. With that being said, talk to us about Super Mario RPG, Eric Slater.
So Mega Man X is fantastic, but Super Mario RPG isn't just one of my favorite RPGs of all time. It's one of the best Mario games ever made. This game is so good, and it's hard to describe it if you haven't actually played it. Paper Mario is great, but it doesn't even come close to as good as this one. The music, the soundtrack, the writing, there's some actual comedy in this game. It's hilarious. The characters and all that. The fact that you get to team up with Princess Peach and Bowser. you get to have both of them on your team. There's just so much going for this game. And there's a reason they remade it recently on the Switch.
Amen to all of that. David Silbert, are you sticking with Super Mario RPG or are you thinking about Mega Man X?
I was never a big Mega Man person growing up, so I think by default I have to go Super Mario RPG. I love Paper Mario. I can't say Super Mario RPG takes the cake there, but I gotta go. Yoko Shimomura, one of the greatest soundtracks ever with this OST. So yeah,
awesome. Curtis Creekmore, I think I know where you're going here.
Okay, Boomer Kerwanger. I really wanted to say that. Yeah, I'm sticking with RPG.
Yeah, all right. So we will be moving Super Mario RPG into round 2. Next, the bulk of the panel wants to roll in the deep with Samus Aran on Planet Zebes, and for one seed Super Metroid to continue to round 2. But I am ready to make like the Dragoon Kane and jump from my love of 4-seed Final Fantasy II, aka Final Fantasy IV. David, in space nobody can hear you scream, but we can all hear you cuss me out as you defend Super Metroid. I will summon the gods like Rydia as I try to save Final Fantasy. I'm going to go again first because I'm on the outs here. I'm going to tip my hat. There are 2 Final Fantasy games on this list, and this is the more disposable of the 2 for me. With that being said, Final Fantasy II was a stunning leap forward for the JRPG series, and we should at least discuss it. Final Fantasy II, which was actually the 4th game in the series, but only the 2nd released outside of Japan, tells the story of Dark Knight Cecil, who is betrayed by the kingdom he is sworn to protect and goes on a journey of self-discovery to ultimately save not only his people, but the entire effing planet. Along the way, a slew of iconic fantasy characters join and leave the party, including his frenemy, the brooding Dragoon Kane, twin sorcerers Palom and Porom, and powerful but traumatized summoner Rydia. I don't think any game at that point was nearly as epic in scope as Final Fantasy II was. The Dragon Quest games were high fantasy to be sure, but this game was on a whole different level. You didn't just explore the world, you explored the underworld, and then you went to the goddamn moon. Golbez is a terrific villain, Cecil's arc has genuine pathos, and if you thought Aerith dying in Final Fantasy VII was shocking, you clearly never played this game where child sorcerers are permanently petrified while saving your life. The stakes were super high, and everything was executed to a stunningly high level. The only thing going against it is, truly, that its successor game on the Super Nintendo is still better in basically every way. But David, tell us about Super Metroid.
Yeah, that's tough to follow up. I love Final Fantasy 2/4. I think it isn't, but I have to give its flowers to Super Metroid. It's impossible to talk about the SNES. My argument would be, Final Fantasy 4/2 is incredible, but Super Metroid got its start on Super Nintendo, right? We had Metroid. The Metroid series started with 1986 Metroid, then 1991 with Metroid 2 Return of Samus for Game Boy, but it really was 1994 Super Metroid that revolutionized the formula for good. It expanded the gameplay. It had this dripping kind of horror-esque aesthetic to it. It brought in all these discoverables and power-ups, and really was the forebear for what is now known as the Metroidvania genre, right? Alongside Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. This is what made an entire genre, and now you can see in today's gaming landscape, you see Metroidvanias everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was a drawback to Super Metroid, it's sales. It's sold, if I'm correct, just about 1.5 million units to date. And Metroid Dread, yeah, I see Curtis' reaction. Metroid Dread, the series best-selling, only did about 3 million. And so, for reference, Hollow Knight, the original Hollow Knight sold 15 million copies across all platforms. Just to show
in a
how...
day.
Yeah. Well, no, Silksong, did like 4 million in like 3 a week? Anyway, it's a shame that it's so undersold because it's such an important title and franchise. So Super Metroid deserves its flowers.
Excellent. Thank you. Curtis Creekmore, is it going to be Super Metroid or Final Fantasy II for you?
Now, I've never been a Final Fantasy girly, which honestly may come as a surprise to people considering my staunch, STAUNCH, staunch defense of Super Mario RPG coming up in just a few minutes. But my vote is going to Metroid here.
Eric Slater, is it Super Metroid or is it Final Fantasy II for you?
It's definitely Super Metroid. This is the best Metroid game to date. So, yeah.
All right, so you heard it there, folks. We're going to move Super Metroid into round 2. Final Fantasy II is out. On that note, the panel is currently split between 2-seed Final Fantasy III, aka Final Fantasy VI, and 3-seed Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. Curtis, tell us why, even after 30 years, you can't get enough of Diddy's Jungle Japes. David, make like the opera sequence and avoid hitting any wrong notes as you stump for Final Fantasy III. Curtis, please go first.
Now, I've never been a Final Fantasy girly, which honestly may come as a surprise to people considering my staunch, S-T-A-U-N-C-H, staunch. You're supposed to interrupt me.
No, I think it's great. Go on, please.
Oh, I already used that argument? Well, they
did.
remade the same game 18 times, so why can't
How
I?
dare you? How dare you?
Anyway, Donkey Kong Country 2 took everything that made the original good and then expanded on it. It introduces the character of Dixie Kong, who recently changed her name to just The Kong. And
Is this true? Oh, that's a
No!
Dixie Chicks joke.
the
That's
Dixie
good.
Chicks joke.
Bitch, he
Come
came
on.
with the jokes tonight.
Good Lord. Keep up. And she brings it to you every ball. She got the hair whips. She got the dips. The addition of Dixie provided gamers a more forgiving and a tactical way to cross large gaps and jump and come down, which for someone like me was a godsend. I don't know why, but I am absolutely terrible at judging distances in platformers. In addition to great gameplay and a wonderful story, the soundtrack of DK2 is often cited as one of the best video game soundtracks in history. You can hear some of the themes from the original DK game through it, but they've reached new levels. I've never gotten into Final Fantasy, I'm sorry, but I've always been bananas for Donkey Kong.
All right, David Silbert, it is your destiny. You have to tell us why Final Fantasy III should advance.
Okay. So I don't even know where to start with Final Fantasy III.
Right.
It's one of the greatest Final Fantasy games ever. For so many people, it is the greatest Final Fantasy game ever. And I think for me, when I think about Final Fantasy VI, I love Final Fantasy IV, right? I wish we could have moved Final Fantasy IV ahead. But to your point, Final Fantasy VI did what Final Fantasy IV did even better. I think the story easily has higher stakes with, spoilers alert, right? The bad guy winning in Kefka, one of the greatest final villains of all time, let alone Final Fantasy villains, gives Sephiroth a run for his money. I didn't realize this until I looked this up. 14 permanent playable characters, the most in any mainline Final Fantasy game,
Yep.
which is impressive given the fact that each character gets their time to shine. They're all really rich and nuanced. It kind of has the intimate nature of Final Fantasy VII, but on a much more like global feeling scale. It touches politics. It touches, race and all these different meaty topics and does it with a plume. But also it's a massive game that feels so much bigger than the hardware. Like it felt contained to the hardware. And so it's crazy that we still haven't gotten that remake. Hopefully we do.
Seriously.
Yeah. And again, one of the best villains ever in Kefka and a terrific soundtrack. And I will just say that final boss battle with Dancing Mad, when Kefka becomes a villain, like just a god and ascends and it's just your party against insurmountable odds, is one of the greatest moments in gaming history. So for that reason, Final Fantasy VI.
Awesome job. Eric Slater, I know that you have Donkey Kong Country 2. I think it's going all the way for you. Am I right?
It's going all the way. The inclusion of Dixie Kong was fantastic. It's just like playing Princess Peach and Mario Brothers 2. Being able to glide, like that, that's my go-to, right? The design of the levels, like the fact that it was a whole different world from the first game. You're in the Kremlin's territory this time, So yeah, it was really good stuff. I have so much nostalgia for those Donkey Kong games.
Well, I'm about to break your heart, my friend, because it is a split decision, and we have 2 and 2, and the higher seed here is actually Final Fantasy III. Donkey Kong Country 2 is an awesome game, and it should absolutely be in the Elite Eight. Let me just say that right out loud. But Final Fantasy III is on a different level for me. Like Curtis made the joke that they've remade the same Final Fantasy game 18 times, but Literally Donkey Kong Country 2. Yes, there's a lot of new bells and whistles and stuff, but that is very much the same type of game, right? It's awesome, and it did give us, I mean, would we have Willow Smith's I Whip My Hair Back and Forth without the icon that is Dixie Kong?
I'm going to wager
question it.
Yes, we would.
I don't know. Watch me whip, watch me nay. That's what I have to say, but...
Those are not the same
I know they're not the same thing. I'm old. Leave me alone. Okay, so we are going to move Final Fantasy 3, aka Final Fantasy 6, into the 8. I'm so sorry, Eric Slater. Next, hold on to your butts as we have nothing but unanimous decisions by our panel for the rest of round 1. First up, 1 seed, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, donkey punched 4 seed Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, right out of the competition. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past will continue. Next, the original Super Mario Kart, a 2 seed, ran 3 seed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, right off the road. This was one of those arcade games that they got ported to the Super NES. It was super fun, and as someone who just spent a lot of money playing the OG Turtles arcade game at a barcade this weekend, those are really hard. But it was a lot of fun. And that being said, doesn't come close to Super Mario Kart, which will continue to the next round. Third, in a battle of JRPGs, 1 seed Chrono Trigger ensured that 4 seed Secret of Mana was out of time in this bracket. But David, you wanted to speak on Secret of Mana.
Yeah, I'm actually not the biggest fan of Secret of Mana. I'm not, but I got to give it its flowers. It's one of those games, again, continuing the trajectory of the SNES, great soundtrack, one of the first RPGs to put a focus on co-op gameplay. That's all cool, but UI is kind of a mess. It doesn't really hold up, and it's going against Chrono Trigger, let's be honest. But it's a respectable franchise. Give it its flowers.
And that's the end of round 1. We're going to take a quick break for some Vanilla Dome, which is both a level in Super Mario World and a screen name from Grindr. We'll be right back.
Welcome, seekers of knowledge, to the hallowed halls of the great pop culture debate archives. Are you yearning for deeper understanding of the cinematic universe? Perhaps a spirited discussion on the merits of 80s cartoons? Or maybe you simply wish to settle once and for all the age-old question, is cereal soup? Our extensive collection of episodes awaits you, each one a treasure trove of passionate arguments, insightful analysis, and the occasional, shall we say, spirited disagreement. From the epic battles of fandom to the quiet contemplation of artistic merit, you'll find it all within our digital stacks. So come explore our full library of episodes at greatpopculturedebate.com. Your quest for pop culture enlightenment begins here.
And we are back for round 2 of our best Super Nintendo game debate. Before we get into the Elite 8, I'd like my panelists to share their social media accounts and what else they're working on. Curtis Creekmore, where can people find you? What are you doing?
Probably dead in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah, right. Welcome to 2025.
I'm not really on social media anymore, but at CURTITCH, Kurtich is my handle. I'm just super excited to be playing The Feud today. I've always been a super nerd. I try to go to a couple different video game conferences every year. This is what I wear to PAX when I go. For those of you who can see the video, I am holding up my lanyard that is covered in stupid pins. I've always loved Nintendo from the very beginning. For a very long time, Nintendo was basically all I had. I've never had a PlayStation. I've never had an Xbox. I've never had any of those. The only thing outside of the Nintendo brand that I've had is Sega. I had a Sega Genesis, which I hope we do a best Sega Genesis game because I could argue the hell out of a couple things on there. But yeah, I'm a big Nintendo nerd.
David Silbert, where can people find you? What else are you working on?
Yeah, much like Curtis, I've kind of ditched social media. Is it wrong to say connect with me on LinkedIn? That seems really boring.
I feel like it's safe.
You're so old, David.
Yeah, I need my connections. No, you can find me on Blue Sky. My name, David, Silbert, davidsylbert.bsky.social. But most likely, you'll find me writing for my own personal video game website, The Punished Backlog, or punishedbacklog.com, where we have a lot of lists. Like we do lists, best NES games, best GameCube games, Switch games, you name it. So come consume some of that good video game content.
We love it. Good. Speaking of good video game content, Eric Slater, welcome back. Where can people find you? What else are you working on?
Yeah. So you can find me on social media, mostly Blue Sky these days because everywhere else is kind of toxic now.
Yup.
But Blue Sky at Eric Slater. That's Eric with the K, Slater with the D as in Delta. You can check out my books on Amazon, $22.99 in Tempest Machina. But right now, the main project I'm working on is the Super Switch Club, and we're getting through our Earthbound season right now. So very pertinent for this episode.
Absolutely. And where can they check that out?
On Spotify.
Perfect. Excellent. You should absolutely do that. The best place to follow us is on Blue Sky at gpcd.bsky.social or at Great Pop Culture Debate on Instagram or TikTok. You should also make sure to subscribe to our page on YouTube, where we're posting original video content, including the video to this episode. But what you really need to do is to sign up for our weekly newsletter. It's new every Tuesday at noon, and it tells you about everything coming out in pop culture that week. Sign up by finding the link on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or via our link tree on any of our social media accounts. Now, let's get into round two, where this debate will go completely off track, a la the original Mario Kart's Rainbow Road. First up, it's a him, Mario, as a surprisingly versatile plumber is up against himself, with the panel split between 1-seed Super Mario World and 3-seed Super Mario RPG. David, grab that feather and cape for votes for Super Mario World. Curtis, time to counter just right to defend Super Mario RPG. David, please go first.
Sure. So Super Mario World, no surprises here. The best-selling Super Nintendo game of all time with just over 20 million copies. And it's hard. I mean, every big Nintendo console kind of lives and dies by its flagship Mario title. And Super Mario World, I'm partial to Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES. That might be my favorite kind of like old school Mario game, but I would be lying if I said there isn't something super intriguing about Super Mario World. Just like bringing in, I know it's always had a world map, but it just feels like a bigger adventure. So many secrets. Maybe that's the leading point I should be making about Super Mario World. So many ways to just skip entire levels and worlds and things that you would need to be bumping your head against the wall for hours, I presume, before the advent of really the internet and all those good Samaritans online that would help you along. But it's just there's an argument nowadays that video games aren't that hard. And Super Mario World is a great example that games. If you want a hard game, go back and play the Super Mario World on Super Nintendo. It's a cultural landmark, right? There's nothing better than it.
Curtis, talk to us about Super Mario RPG.
I have always been a Mario fanatic. I've loved the series from the jump. Get it? With Super Mario Bros. This is a heartbreaking matchup for me, and one I'm pretty sure I'm not going to win. Both of these games are amazing, beautiful, and story-rich. However, I give the edge to RPG because it was so different for the Mario franchise. RPG brought Mario from a platformer to a 3D adventure and was actually the final Mario game on the SNES. Mm-hmm. Since it was developed by Square, RPG shares some fun similarities to the Final Fantasy games that you all seem to love on this bracket, and even includes a secret mega boss called Culex, inspired by that series. RPG adds several new entries to ever-growing cast of Mario games with amazing characters like Mallow, the adopted frog-turned-kidnapped Cloud Boy, and one of my favorite Mario characters of all time, Geno, the marionette possessed by a celestial spirit from Star Road. It also gives Peach a role outside of being kidnapped and arms her with a frying pan, the ability to slap a bitch, and healing the team through therapy and group hugs. In fact, Eric, I think you would benefit from some time with Peach.
Amen. No.
The story itself is a masterpiece. The character interactions, the story points, and the script throughout the game breathe life and personality into the franchise for the first time. Without Super Mario RPG, we would never have gotten Paper Mario, and later, The Thousand-Year Door, two more of the best games in the entire franchise. I would be sad to see it go.
Eric Slater, this is a tough decision. Is it going to be Mario World or is it going to be Mario RPG?
This is a tough one for real. It's like trying to choose which parent, like to. But yeah, no, I'm gonna.
Mom.
I think I'm gonna have to.
Neither.
Right. No, I think I'm gonna have to go with Super Mario World. As much as I love Super Mario RPG, Super Mario World, it might be the best Mario game. It depends on the day because Mario Brothers 3 is way up there. But I love it. I love it so much. And if you've ever beaten Star Road, there's more levels after that.
Oh my!
This game just keeps on giving. Yeah, there's a whole bonus world. It's crazy.
Lordy Lou, things you learn even today. Sometimes on the show, like something goes out, I was just like, well, you were wrong, so you deserve to go out. There's no wrong here. These are both great games, and it's sad that we're at Elite Eight and we're already knocking that out, but I give it to Super Mario World. I think it is just more quintessential for the Super Nintendo, so we'll be moving into the Final Four. Next, the panel is split between 1-seed Super Metroid and 2-seed Final Fantasy III. Eric, charge your arm cannon as you try to blow away the opposition for Metroid. I will equip my Magicite armor as I defend Final Fantasy III. Eric, would you mind going first?
Sure, yeah. So I think I mentioned already, Super Metroid is, to me, the best Metroid game. It's got all the elements and it perfects them. You know, it's such a fun, fast-paced game. It's massive. Like, there's so much exploration going on. The vibes, the sound effects, the visuals, the music, everything about this game is just firing on all cylinders. And like from the jump, you get this cinematic opening that really draws you in. And there's just so much to this world. There's a lot of world building, a lot of subtle things going on here. I love it, obviously.
David already did a great job talking about Final Fantasy III, so I'm not going to go too much on Gilding the Lily. I'm just going to say that I don't think there is a more epic Super Nintendo game than Final Fantasy III, also known as Final Fantasy VI. We've talked about the game multiple times on this podcast, including in our Best Final Fantasy Game episode from way back in 2021, but more than 30 years after this came out, and with 10 main series editions and dozens of spin-offs, it is still considered one of, if not the best Final Fantasy games ever created, and that is really saying something. It is arguably the pinnacle of 2D RPG experience. As David mentioned, massive 14-member roster. Each character had its own unique skill, personality, and story arcs, and you actually got to use them all. Like in the final battle, you literally split into 3 teams, and you're concurrently running them. And as like a completionist, I was a huge X-Men fan as a kid, and I was just like, oh, it sucks that it can't get all the X-Men on the same team, right? Like, you get to play all of them. It's so cool. And they're all there in the final battle, too. It had incredible story arcs, unbelievable soundtrack that still slaps today, that iconic villain who David mentioned, the ending boss, sorry for the spoilers for a 30-something-year-old game, it is a multiple story boss that he ascends to godhood and you're fighting him vertically. It is crazy. But I'm going to put it to a vote here. David, is it Final Fantasy or is it going to be Super Metroid?
I just have to say one thing that Eric, you and I left out is I think Samus Aran is one of maybe the top 5 most important protagonists in all of gaming. Like, such an important protagonist.
Absolutely.
I have so much respect for Samus
Iconic.
Aran and
Yes.
especially within Nintendo's catalog of games. Having said that, I got to go Final Fantasy VI.
By the way, these are both games with female protagonists. These are both women who are actually the lead characters of both of these games, which is very rare at that point in gaming. Curtis, is it going to be Super Metroid or is it going to be Final Fantasy?
I'm going to give it to Final Fantasy just so you can have your stupid little game in the Final Four and so Mario can kill it.
I didn't think this was going to happen. Eric Slater, I feel really
Sorry,
bad.
Eric.
You are our guest and we are just punching. We're like Mario with
it's
Yoshi.
okay. This is how it happens.
Yeah, we're just punching you in the
throwing
back
you
of
gotta
the
roll
head.
with it like those barrels.
We got to roll with those barrels. All right. So Final Fantasy III will be moving into the Final Four. It's a unanimous victory for 1-seed Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which means that the original Mario Kart, a 2-seed, spun out of this bracket. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past will move forward. Finally, in round 2, the bulk of the panel thinks that 2-seed Donkey Kong Country is a barrel of fun compared to 1-seed Chrono Trigger. David, careen through time and get the best possible ending for Trigger. I will try not to pop Donkey Kong Country's final balloon. David, do you mind go first?
Sure. I'm surprised that Chrono Trigger has its back against the wall. This for me, I love Final Fantasy VI. I love Zelda: Link to the Past, all these great Super Metroid. They all pale in comparison to my personal GOAT on the SNES. So for those not in the know, famously Chrono Trigger was developed by a dream team that's folks at Square and Enix assembled. So you have Hironobu Sakaguchi, who of course is the creator, the progenitor of Final Fantasy. You have Yuji Horii, the Dragon Quest creator, and then kind of the glue bringing it all together is the late great Akira Toriyama, author of Dragon Ball, whose visual art brings this whole beautiful game to life. And then you had also music from Yasunori Mitsuda, who in my opinion is kind of one of the more underappreciated composers in kind of video game history. It's, in my opinion, maybe the greatest gaming soundtrack of all time, next to maybe Final Fantasy 6 and 7. It's right up there. And what I really admire about Chrono Trigger, I mean, this is a game that I don't really have to have abundant notes for. It's an RPG that never overstayed its welcome. It's like a crisp 20 to 25 hours. So many nowadays I can't play an RPG. They're like 80, 100 hour. I can't play the Xenoblade games, but I can go back and replay Chrono Trigger. It has a terrific battle system. It's not too complex, but it's definitely not too simple, where you're kind of each character has different synergy and you can activate these super moves. The battle theme never gets old. It's just like the perfect mix. The story is incredible. Like I'm never going to say it's the greatest video game narrative of all time, but just some of the surprise deaths. I don't even know if I want to spoil, just the big death or potential death of a certain character who you can bring back to life. Magus, the villain, is so good. And of course, this is one of like the few RPGs that has 13 endings. So you can have all kinds of different permutations, and then the whole time travel narrative thread bringing you from one era to the next. It's just an unbelievable RPG that everyone needs to play once or hopefully many, many times in your lifetime.
I think this is one of those games where, like, if you know, you know. That's my argument for this one, is if you've played Chrono Trigger, to know Chrono Trigger is to love Chrono Trigger, and it is the one seed here. My argument is it's not super easy to find Chrono Trigger, right? Like, it's not. When is the last time it was released? It's not on the virtual consoles that I'm aware of.
It's now on Steam.
Okay.
Steam and iOS, Android. Other than that, a DS port, which is good. It's a really good, but to your point, yeah, it hasn't had the same love as Final Fantasy 6 and 7.
Yeah, and I think that hurts it.
It's crazy that they haven't remade it yet.
It is. It is crazy. I agree. Because they just redid Chrono Cross, the sequel, which is not as good, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, why?
Right.
Yeah. And if we can get Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 all remade in that Octopath Traveler 2.5D HD style, can we get Chrono Trigger in that? That'd be phenomenal.
Right?
I would love that.
How do we go back in time to make that happen? But, all right, we've already talked about Donkey Kong Country, but I'm going to say that despite coming for its sequel a few arguments ago, this game is exceptional. Graphically, the 3D model characters were unlike anything we'd seen on the SNES before and paved the way for what we would get on the N64. It was challenging, but it was also fun, and it created a world for Donkey Kong that didn't actually exist before this game. Characters and concepts introduced in this game have become so essential to the franchise that they have been featured in every iteration all the way up through 2025's Donkey Kong Bonanza, and that includes Donkey Konga, which is, in my opinion, the best kind of Donkey Kong game, but I digress. One of my key arguments against DKC2 was that it wasn't as ambitious as Final Fantasy III. I'm not sure that's the case with this matchup. When you look at what had come before for Donkey Kong, the 8-bit platformers in which you actually did not play as the title character literally ever, Donkey Kong Country is a quantum leap for the character and the franchise. It was also wildly popular, selling more than 9 million copies worldwide, making it the third best-selling Super Nintendo game. It was so successful that in its second week of release in the United States, it grossed more money than that week's highest-grossing film in theaters, The Santa Claus, and album, earning $15 million in 1 week. With that being said, it has one major con. Fuck those cart levels, man. Okay, Curtis, is it going to be Donkey Kong Country or is it going to be Chrono Trigger?
So I downloaded Chrono Trigger on Steam, and I couldn't make it out of the first area. I didn't know what to do. I had kind of watched a little bit of it online, of games done quickly and people showing you playthroughs, and I didn't know how to get to the next piece. I'm not dumb, I don't think, but I'm going to vote for Donkey Kong.
Eric Slater, it comes down to you. Is it Chrono Trigger or Donkey Kong Country? He's voting for Donkey Kong Country.
I have the original packaging. This is my favorite game of all time. I'm a little bit biased. It's Donkey Kong Country. It's Donkey Kong Country. It's Donkey Kong Country.
So I know we have to wrap here. David Silbert, you did an excellent job voting for Chrono Trigger. And I think people listening to this who really know Super Nintendo games are like, this sucks. It should be Chrono Trigger in the finals. I do think there is an argument to be made that it is the best game of these two. But what is the best Super Nintendo game? I think, is Donkey Kong Country. That's how I'm going to rationalize it. Boo me, it's fine. So we will be moving Donkey Kong Country. And go ahead, Eric Slater.
I will say, Chrono Trigger is fantastic. It's extremely good.
Absolutely.
But Donkey Kong Country, man.
Donkey Kong Country, and it will be moving into the Final Four. With that, we have our Final Four. We're going to take a quick break to hang out with Super Nintendo spokesperson Paul Rudd. We'll be right back.
Want even more great pop culture debate in your life? We're talking behind-the-scenes shenanigans, hot takes fresh off the press, and all the pop culture goodness you can handle. Then you absolutely must follow us on social media. Get your daily dose of debates, polls, and hilarious commentary on all the latest trends. We're on Instagram and TikTok at Great Pop Culture Debate, and we've joined the Blue Sky Revolution at gpcd.bsky.social for even more in-depth discussions. So, whether you're team hashtag pineapple on pizza or team hashtag Die Hard is a Christmas movie, join the conversation. Follow the Great Pop Culture Debate on Instagram and Blue Sky and TikTok and all our other socials too, because the debate never sleeps.
And we are back with the Final Four of our Best Super Nintendo Game debate. At this point in the show, I like to take a step back and see if it shook out the way that I expected it to. I also like to add at this point that no matter which of these options wins, we are celebrating all of these entries, and I hope nobody gets salty about what comes next. So, we have a Final Four of Super Mario World, Final Fantasy III, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and Donkey Kong Country. I do think these are 4 pillars of the Super Nintendo. These were all massively selling games. I think they are definitive. I think these could be argued as, if not the best versions of each of those franchises, within top 3 versions of each of those franchises. I see people shaking their heads. David Silbert, do you agree with that?
Yes. The only one that I think is debatable, and that's certainly not a bad thing, is Link to the Past. And that's nothing to say anything bad of A Link to the Past. That's more just the overall quality of the Zelda franchise.
Agreed.
But I believe that's like, if it wasn't the first Zelda game I played, I think it was the second. Like, I was a big fan of the Oracle of Ages and Seasons games on the Game Boy Color. Link to the Past, fantastic game. Oh.
Yeah, we barely talked about it, so we'll get into that in a second. Eric Slater, I heard you also say agreed. You also agree, like, generally speaking, these are among the best of their franchises?
For sure. Although Zelda, like David was saying, there's just so many good Zelda games at this point that it's kind of hard to rank them. But it's in the conversation.
Except for Skyward Sword. We can all rank that one at the bottom. Actually, no. Adventures of Link at the bottom.
Yeah,
and
Zelda
then
2's
Skyward
rough.
Sword. Yeah. It sucks. All right, so let's get into this. It's Super Mario World, a 1 seed, versus Final Fantasy III, a 2 seed. I would like to start with Eric Slater, actually. Where are you going to go on this one?
Okay. Super Mario World.
Okay. Any particular reason, or?
Well, Super Mario World, again, it's one of the best Mario games ever made. It's such a good 2D platformer. It just works. The art style, it's like, it really pops, like the colors and everything. The amount of new enemies, the world itself, the introduction of Yoshi. You fight all the Koopalings, and each of them has a different boss style. And it's just endlessly replayable. It's so much fun. I still play it to this day.
Yeah. Curtis Creekmore, is it going to be Super Mario World or Final Fantasy III for you?
What do you think?
I think it's probably going to be Super Mario World for you.
Yeah, I think you are correct. Again, I'm not a Final Fantasy fan yet. You all can try your best to turn me onto it. But I fought against Super Mario World when I was repping for Super Mario RPG, but for me, that's my top 2. Those 2 games are on this list of 16, those are my top 2. So definitely Super Mario World.
All right. David Silbert, Super Mario World or Final Fantasy III for you?
So Super Mario World gave you Yoshi, but Final Fantasy VI gave us Mog. And
it sure did.
I got to go Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, and his little dancing, and sometimes he'd fall. It was adorable. I'm going to stick with Final Fantasy III here, and it doesn't matter because ultimately in a split, we go to the higher seed, which is Super Mario World. But I do think that we kind of alluded to this with Super Mario World. People are like, well, it's either Super Mario Brothers 3 or it's Super Mario World is kind of the better game. There is no equivocation when it comes to Final Fantasy 3. Like, for what came before it, it was easily better than the other ones. Whereas Super Mario World was a step up from Mario 3, but it's debatable, right? It's pretty solid. It doesn't ultimately matter because Super Mario World is the 1 seed and it will advance to the final 2. Next is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, a 1 seed versus Donkey Kong Country, a 2 seed. Eric Slater, I think we've established that you are a ride or die Donkey Konga. So are you going with Donkey Kong here?
I am, and it's kind of painful because Link to the Past is a freaking phenomenal game. But DKC is where it's at.
David Silbert, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past or Donkey Kong Country for you?
I like Donkey Kong Country. I respect it. I think maybe like it better than Super Mario World, but I have to go Link to the Past. I think if this might be the greatest like starter Zelda game for anyone. Like it's just a great end-to-end package. Link to the Past.
Curtis Creekmore, is it going to be Legend of Zelda or Donkey Kong Country?
So I had never played any Zelda game until Breath of the Wild.
Oh.
Breath of the Wild was my first Zelda game. And after playing Breath of the Wild, I was like, oh, that's what people were talking about. So I went back and played a couple of the others. And I think Link to the Past was my second Zelda game. And it is, for what it was, for an SNES game, amazing top to bottom. Story was cute. The gameplay is so fun. It's an excellent game. And I do think this is a tough matchup, but I'm going to go with Zelda here. I think it's probably a better whole game.
Even if I voted for Donkey Kong, it would still go to Zelda because it's the 1 seed. But I am going to vote for Zelda here. Again, we haven't talked about it much, but Zelda to me took everything that worked about the original Zelda game, made it so much better, fleshed it out so much more. It is a very rich game. Visually, the leap between the first game and this is massive. The second game is not good. I'm sorry. I know it has its defenders, but it is a deeply broken game. I appreciate it was inventive and tried some new things, but I don't know her. But Link to the Past, I think, did everything right. There's not one thing in Link to the Past that I do not enjoy. That gives us a final 2 of Super Mario World versus Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I would like to start with Curtis Creekmore. Where are you going?
I'm going to keep it with Mario. Not only is Mario the pillar of the Nintendo franchise, I do think that Super Mario World, it gives us new things in the Mario Kingdom. It gives us Yoshi. You get to ride him. You get to experience what it's like to have this new character. I love the battles in the little castles. I love the gameplay that Eric was talking about with all of the Koopalings have their own style. I think that's super fun. And we got to see that in Super Mario 3, which is also one of my favorite games of all time. But the visuals of the Super Mario world bring it to life in a different way. Getting lost in that forest, finding the special secret things where you can go out to the pirate boat in the middle of the lake. There's just such a beautiful nostalgia, and it's really challenging. Link to the Past, I don't know that I was necessarily challenged at all, but I definitely have never I don't think I've ever fully beaten the Star Road levels. I've beaten the game 5 million times, but I feel like I always get to Star Road and I get to Star 2 and then I stop because it's really, really challenging. Maybe I'll pick it back up now that I have a fully, formed prefrontal cortex.
But also arthritis, so good luck to you.
I can't even do the Gen Z heart.
I know. Our gnarled hands.
Yes.
Yeah. David Silber, is it going to be Super Mario World or Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past for you?
Probably gives it away by the fact that I have not fully played Super Mario World, so I feel bad about that. And I do think probably maybe you can make the case that it's the more iconic game, but if we're just talking about best game from top to bottom, even though it's not necessarily my favorite Zelda game, I'd be hard pressed to say this is not the Zelda game that someone should play if they're just looking to get into the series. Like 2D Mario, 2D Zelda, this feels like the perfect matchup, and I gotta rep the Zelda franchise, so Link to the Past.
Eric Slater, is it going to be Zelda or Mario for you?
Yikes. This one is like picking between your favorite children. Like, I'm going to have to go with Mario in this case. Gun held to my head, it's Mario. Link to the Past is peak, but this is possibly the best Mario game.
I think there's a good, and I think you all had a point where you even said, I don't think Link to the Past is the best Zelda game, that there are Zelda games that are better than it. Mario, it's harder. Like, could you say Mario 64 is better? I feel like it's so different that I can't even compare it. I don't know. It's tough. I will give it to Mario here, A, because I want to make a decision, but B, because I think either one of these could win. It would be completely logical.
Totally valid.
I'm not going to give it a tie because we get called out as a cop-out when I do that. But I think they're both excellent games. I do think each of them brought really cool new things to each of those franchises. Yes, we talked about Yoshi, but there were secrets and stuff in the previous games, but there were so many secrets in Mario World. I think people were still finding them a couple years ago. It's nuts, the number that were in there. And then in Link to the Past, the Pegasus boots are completely new. The hook shot is completely new for that game. There's all of these cool things that became this established part of canon. And I think they both were these great, weird, the SNES itself is an interstitial system, right, to get us to the N64 and to 3D gaming. And I feel like these are both great interstitial games to get to the next, arguably peak of those particular franchises. But there you have it, folks. Our pick for the best Super Nintendo game is Super Mario World. Do you agree? Would you give this episode a grade of F0? Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com, or find us on Blue Sky or Instagram. While you're there, make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast so you can hear about what new debates are coming soon, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. I want to thank you to my panel. You really are playing with superpower, and thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content and you get episodes a whole day early. We hope you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion. Now, do a barrel roll.